we expect to verify the volumes. But sometimes on the test station dealers, the dipsticks are not there. The owners don't leave the dipsticks at the station or the keys to the tank. When you ask, I want to verify, you know, enforcement man was telling you about that. The officer has the right to come at any time. And when he comes at any time to check, let the keys be there, let the dipsticks be there, so that we can verify how much is in the tank. We verify how much has been found non-compliant, and then everything will be done according to the procedure. I've already talked about breaking of seals. We hope you comply. Way forward. Fuel marking program has enabled us to monitor the quality of fuel in the country very reliably and very fast in order to apprehend culprits, since fuel is a fast-moving product. There has been a great success in enforcing the standard in that area. You know, fuel is a fast-moving product. What they offloaded in Total here, Kabarole, last week is not the same this week, according to the consumption they sell. So we are increasing our capacity, but we have been able to move also as fast. In Kampala, what we have done is more frequency because the consumption there is so high. What you have monitored today will be different from what will be monitored, what will be there in Saturday. So if today you have monitored, it's okay. We cannot assume that what you are selling on Saturday is the same. And we have found some challenges in that area. The man said, but you were here last week. You tested my product. Now why are you coming back? Hey, we are coming back. We can come back even the following day. Because it's a fast-moving product. Don't complain. You may have offloaded another product, another batch. We are going to increase this frequency because of the it's a high-moving product. And we cannot rely on the results of yesterday. If yesterday I tested and you are well, today it come, I find you are bad, I seal you. I cannot rely on yesterday's results. So as we are building this capacity in terms of monitoring, in terms of equipment, we are able and committed to fight substandard products on the market. And also this kind of awareness, that's why we are here today, so that we share information. You also give us suggestions so that we can brainstorm how we can overcome these challenges of quality within the industry. We want you to know so that you can do what you are supposed to do, so that also for our side we do what we are supposed to do, so that the market, there is fair market of product, so that there is fair competition, so that there is fair quality, so that all of us are not affected. We need that kind of cooperation, and that's why we are here sensitizing. We also request test station dealers who are here today, and even when you go back, tell those other people to cooperate during testing. Leave behind dipsticks, keys for the tanks to make our work very easy. For the AMCs, we encourage you also to do self-monitoring. Self-monitoring how? You should have hydrometers to test the density of what? Of your products when they arrive. Because you don't know what has happened between Kampala and here. Because if somebody has mixed from Kampala along the way, and if you have your hydrometers, you will be able to take that on your own. You look at the density at the point of loading. That's why SICPA was telling you, they measure at the border with our people who are put at the border. When it reaches the depot, it is measured. When it goes to the station, it should be measured. Any variance in densities is a key indicator that something has happened to this product. For example, here I gave a small example in how you can verify by your own. If you have the hydrometers, if you measure the density, let's say of PMS, and you get a variance, converting it at 20 degrees, and you get a variance of more than 0.012, you just know something has happened to this product. Maybe kerosene, you see, for petrol, it will increase the density. For diesel, the density will go down. So when you compare from the loading and delivery, you will be able to ascertain that something has happened. And you can call on us that this transporter has brought this product. Can you come with your high technology and verify? I'm getting discrepancy in the results in the densities. Then we shall come. Because we have these mobile vehicles in the region, I know where each vehicle is. It can come to your station and be able to verify that kind of thing. You know, we have had cases where we have rescued companies. There is suspicion of dumping, suspicion of adulteration, or suspicion of smuggling. URA is on their neck. All the enforcement team in the region, they are on their neck. Then when we come in, we find the product's okay. The man acknowledges and understands the advantage of our system because we have rescued him from the allegations of the public. So it is very important to do self-monitoring and also share information. I thank you so much for your attention. If you have any query with regard to quality, the toll-free numbers are there, and our numbers are there. You call police officers. Any suspicion, call us. We shall work hand in hand. Local authorities, call us. We shall work hand in hand to sort out any issue with regard to quality so that we all benefit from quality product consumption within our vehicle. Thank you so very much. At this moment, I will invite the last presenter, before we go in time of discussion, to talk about quantity. I've been talking about quality, but there are now also issues to do with the quantity. All that kind of stuff is the gentleman to give you that information. You're welcome, Mr. Bonnet.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I already introduced myself in the general introduction. I'm Boniface Kapere. I'm Inspector of Weights and Measures at the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. And I will be talking about the role of legal metrology in fuel monitoring. Go on. We have this understanding that for you to be sure that you know, you have got to measure. And when you do that measurement correctly, you are empowered to make a correct decision. And that happens at all levels. Now, because measurement is so important, there is a field of, move on. There is a field called metrology. Metrology is a science of measurement, and many people often confuse it with meteorology. Meteorology has to do with weather. Those people look in the sky and then they tell you when it is going to rain. For us, in meteorology, we are looking at things and quantifying them. And that field is subdivided into three. We have what we call the scientific, the industrial, and then legal metrology. In scientific metrology, you are talking about concepts of science and how you attain quantities that can be measurable, where we attach units. For time, we have the second. For mass, we have the kilogram. For fuel, like what we are talking about today, we have the liter. So that science is high-end, and the UNBS is responsible for the entire echelon of the field of metrology. Scientific metrology and industrial metrology being managed by the National Metrology Laboratory, and then legal metrology being managed by the legal metrology department. Now, legal metrology is so called because it applies the law. In the other one, the scientific, you are dealing with quantities where scientists understand those things. And so they will deal with the measurements from the laboratory. And then in industrial, you are also meeting experts who understand those same concepts and are able to interpret the information. But there is measurement where the people who are benefiting from it or you are using it do not necessarily have the science behind it. And it's because it is very important, people are going to make decisions which can affect somebody's income, decisions which are going to affect someone's livelihood. We employ the law to set limits and then penalties. So that field which is controlled by the law, which is subject to law, is what we call legal metrology. Now, in this business of fuel, it is employed. And the key objective when we perform legal metrology is to protect society against consequences of false measurement. That when you measure wrongly, you are likely to disadvantage someone. Someone is likely to suffer because of that measurement which was not done well. And typically here, we focus on fairness in a trade. That no one, because of the measurement, is impacted negatively, is put on a disadvantage. That by way of measuring, everybody is fairly served. And by trade we mean where there is exchange of money's worth for goods. Although there are areas also which are covered by trade, like areas where there is delivery, there is not necessarily any exchange of money, but there are decisions which are going to be made that may impact the livelihood of someone. For instance, when a supply is done, the transactions were already done, but you want to prove whether what has been delivered is correct. At that stage, we categorize that as trade as well. Thank you. Move on. So, in Uganda, we employ the UNBS Act, CAP 327, and that's the UNBS Act. And this one establishes the mandate for UNBS to administer legal metrology. Then we have the Weights and Measures Act, CAP 103. This one provides the requirements and controls for legal metrology generally. And from that, we have subsidiary legislations. Move on. We have the Weights and Measures Dispensing PAPs, bulk meters and bulk measures rules of 2007, also amended in 2011. It provides the specific requirements for legal control of the equipment. If it is bulk measures, road tankers, we know it must have this and must not have this. That is provided in that a pump must have this feature, and such and such a feature is not permitted on a pump. That is the regulation that provides for that. And it is it covers all equipment used in physical metering. of petroleum products and custody transfer. Then, of course, there are other regulations like the fees rules, because when we do the verification, we also use charge fees. Then the important specific function of legal metrology is to ensure accurate quantity determination during custody transfer of petroleum products. Custody transfer is basically a transaction involving the transportation of or transfer of petroleum products from one operator to another. So all equipment that perform these duties must be type approved. That first of all, the type of equipment that you are going to use must be of a type that has been accepted for use in Uganda. And then they are also verified periodically to give assurance of compliance. Because when a type has been accepted, when someone brings that new equipment here, we again have got to do a verification to prove that that particular piece of instrument is actually consistent with the pattern that was approved. And later on, when it is in use, we have to assure that it is actually functioning well. It can be relied on. And then the other thing is we continuously monitor the equipment during service through inspections. We come to a station without announcing that on such and such a date we shall be here, and then we run tests. We examine to see whether when we verified and sealed that equipment, the sticker that was placed there is there, the seal that prevents anybody from tampering with the adjustments that were made are also intact. So what do we verify? We have been verifying the road tankers. We do that every year at the UNBS verification rig and the other private rigs. The private rigs, we deploy our staff there. There are certain criteria for assessing that the equipment necessary for verification are there. Then we can deploy our staff there, and the road tankers can be verified there. We verify railway wagons. Those ones are verified once in every 3 years. And then the static tanks. Static tanks are those ones, you call them normally storage tanks. But we have also come to understand that when a delivery is made, the operator of that station prefers to rely on the equipment that is in their hand. And so we have been having so many issues where a truck has delivered fuel, but the station owner has taken a dip of their tank and they are asserting their measurement. Now, if that measurement is not verified, then it is not legally acceptable. But if you have that equipment verified, then it can be relied on. And for that, we opened up the space. You make a request to UNBS, and then we will come to the station and verify your tank. When we have done that, then you can rely on your static tank, the underground or even above ground. We verify the flow meters twice every year. These flow meters include meters for aviation and meters for aviation, and then all those ones in depots. Then fuel dispensers at filling stations. They are also verified twice every year. We also monitor compliance with legal metrology requirements at the one-stop border posts. Now, SICPA was presenting here. They do the doping at the border. Now, before they do the doping, they need a sure measure. By the time they are saying this quantity is so much, they are relying on something. And so, our staff are always there to give a monitoring cover that to assure that what we verified, the truck that we verified, is still carrying the same measurement that we verified. Because we have had instances where a truck is verified, but then a semi-trailer usually. But then when it crosses, they remove the tractor, that head which pulls the tanker, and then place another one. But they will arrive with the same verification, calibration chart. Now, the measurements change because those trucks are not identical. So, because these are dependent measurements, we need an expert there to ensure that we have the correct measure at all times. And that is one way of protecting the revenues to government. We also do surprise inspections at filling stations and depots to check on those equipment there, the dispensers at the filling stations, the tankers, I mean the meters at the depots. Now, measuring equipment are basically machines, and they are subject to wear and tear. When they break down, they will need repair. But because the state in which they are required is governed by law, there are certain requirements that have got to be met. We have got to have people who are competent in that operation. People have the credibility to do that work. So we examine calibration technicians and issue licenses to those who are successful, who have the knowledge and the equipment to do this work. And of course, in the license, they are also committing to play by the rules. When you have repaired equipment, it has got to be submitted to an inspector before it goes back into play. And then we also do complaint handling, where we get involved in investigation and then prosecution of offenders. I already told you that this is subject to law. So when you breach the law, we take you on. In the year 2023, that's the data I have now, I'll go in for the flow, for the dispensers, which I'm told everybody is interested in here. We had about 23,000 fuel dispensers verified. Now, that figure looks higher than the 4,800 that was mentioned in the fuel monitoring. The reason is because while quality targets an aggregate, we are targeting each outlet, each retail outlet. At a station, you have several of them. So those nozzles we are targeting are multiple, and that's why you see that figure is higher. On road tankers, as of February 2024, we were at the compliance of 95.5% out of our monitoring. Now, you would expect that to be 100%, but we do have some challenges, especially on the Tanzania and the southern route from Tanzania. A few procedures in verification differ. And for that, at the ESC, at the East African community, there is a process going on that will bring about harmonization within the East African community. So that what we do here is the same as what is in every other state. The challenge the biggest is that one. Okuhereza olwoya. I had okuhereza olwoya, okuteera empeho, okukuba empeho, they're all around there. Literally meaning, I've been sold air. This is a common complaint, and it gives the impression that when people go to filling stations, the pumps are capable of delivering nothing or air into their tanks. I want to give the assurance that the pumps are designed in such a way, the pumps that we verify and pass are designed in such a way that they are only moved by fuel. Anything called air, for some models there is even a component, an eliminator, to remove that before it gets into a metering unit. For those who have submersible pumps, they are capable of pushing fuel all the way, and then you may not need some of those components, but the line is always having fuel. And when air is trapped in that system, then the system should lock. So that is how this, so when we are verifying, that is an area we always look at. If a nozzle is capable of moving without giving fuel, it's enough reason for us to fail that metering unit. So we've done our part. You have seen the frequency. Every 6 months we have a general verification, and then without announcing in between there, we can come back and check to see that the pumps are still okay. Then what remains is that, is it possible for this to be used badly to disadvantage a motorist? And that is where we want you to take in interest. When we have verified the pumps, we leave the rest to the public. You are there to buy and the other person is there to sell. But when you go to any shopping point, you should be careful to see that what you ask for is what you get. Now, in this case, what is it that you should observe? When you go and ask for, say, 40,000 liters, 40,000 fuel worth 40,000 shillings, see to it that that attendant sets that quantity on the pump. Leave everything else that you are doing and observe what happens. The person, the attendant is going to lift the nozzle, and when the nozzle is lifted, the meter the pump, the metering pump, the dispenser will go back to 0. You should be able to see that. And then the nozzle should go to your tank. When it gets to your tank, the operator presses the trigger. When the trigger is pressed, the meter begins running. It will count from 0 and move upwards until the 40,000 shillings is seen again on your screen. That is when you can be sure that you have received the fuel that you asked for. Short of that, you give advantage to an unscrupulous attendant to take advantage of you. In forms of this kind, I will just give 2 examples. One, the attendant can put the nozzle in your tank. But because you are busy, maybe you've been traveling and the calls were coming in, you are not picking, now you think you have time to attend to them. They will put the nozzle, they will set the quantity, put the nozzle in your tank, but don't press. And after a while, we just remove the nozzle and come to ask for payment. By the time you look back, the screen will be showing the quantity and you think it has been delivered, but it hasn't. So in reality, you've paid 40,000 shillings for Mpeo. In some cases, the trigger will even be pressed, but you asked for 40,000. There are border riders coming close by. They only want 2,000, 5,000, 3,000. You will serve a few of them, and maybe 10,000 will be off. So you will receive fuel for 30,000. 10,000 has gone elsewhere, but the screen is showing that the 40,000 was dispensed. So do not give that space. Every time you go to a shop and they are weighing sugar for you, you will watch. They will prepare the weighing scale, put the sugar, and then begin measuring until putting in the cavera. You will be watching. So do the same when you go to the fuel station. So those are some of the things that you need to observe. But others, in some places, they play with the billboard. You are entering the petrol station, and what is flashing on the board there is 5,000 shillings per liter. So you come and order for 50,000 shillings fuel quantity. It is set, but the pump itself has 5,200 something. You're going to get less than 10 liters, which you thought you were going to get based on the billboard. So these kind of areas are areas that need to be observed. The other main challenge we have had relates with managers at depots and filling stations transferring losses to transporters. And they claim the transporters have their games which they play along the way, which is partly true, but a lot of times also false. If at the station you are using an unverified equipment, you cannot judge the one which has been verified, because yours could be the cause of error. And so you are reading shortages which do not exist in reality. So that is an area, but also it's important to look at the measures, the road tankers, because some of those road tankers drivers are playing games. There are instances where you find a tank, a small tank has been inserted in the compartment. So that kind of truck, even if you escorted it yourself, you will still register a loss, because you fill the truck with the right quantity, but when you offload, a quantity remains in the tank that has been inserted there. They are so skilled that they make the tank able to fill when it is filled with fuel, but when you drain, the fuel is retained, because the only entry is at the top, and maybe a tap which is controlled at the bottom. They keep that one locked, and sometimes you will find they have added skirtings in the manhole. Below the manhole, there is some extra installation which they have put there, so that you are not able to see laterally at the side of that compartment. So above that, at the top of that tank, you will easily find there is another tank inside there, and it is retaining fuel when you are draining off. So in that area, we advise you always insist on a truck that has been verified, because that is the truck which has evidence that it is being monitored, and they will rarely work on that. In all the cases that we have found, those tanks, we also find the tank was not verified for a long time, and but you went ahead and contracted that truck. So in that area, we request you to be vigilant if you are fuel filling station operator. Okay? So, okay, so the way forward, we will continue having these engagements to make sure you are aware of what to do. Of course, for us, we continue with the verifications, and on top of that, we have added a verification of static tanks. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Boniface Kapere. Now it's time to, after digesting all those presentations, I expect you have learned, you have been sensitized, you have been made aware, and now you may be having some questions. You may be having some remarks, suggestions. Now it's a time we receive those comments, suggestions, questions. And I'll ask those people who were the MC, I need another microphone. We need another microphone to help us to pick these questions, these comments from the people who were invited here, so that they can receive answers, and also for us to receive advice, way forward, challenges, and what we can do together as stakeholders. I'm waiting for the microphone. We shall be taking 4 at a time. We respond to them, and then we take another batch of 4. You mention your name, where you come from, or your job description, or your title, and then...
Thank you very much, President, the organizer of this work. My name is Julius
We are having models of cars from 2015 to 2022. Those cars are very sensitive. They are very sensitive. And when we are buying them, they tell us use only Shell or Total. The moment you go to these other brands of petrol stations, the car may just take you like 5 kilometers. Only. And those cars, we get real problems because we had a vehicle in Kenya for the chief administrative officer that was down for 4 years because he took fuel from a certain petrol station. I may not mention it here. 4 years it is down. Almost we did engine overhauling, almost buying a new engine, and it was very costly. So those cars we need to think about them. And surprisingly, you came from far, I know. For you, you must have taken Total or Shell. You didn't use those petrol stations, I'm sure. Because even myself, I used Shell. But what about a local person in the village there? Who is the pillar of this economy? You leave him just to die like that. Face it like that. So that is a very big weakness. And vehicles are coming, we are changing. Uganda is putting there some bans of some vehicles that should not come from Japan. So it means that 2015 and above vehicles are coming and we are not supposed to use this fuel. And mechanics are telling us, if you buy such type of vehicle, use only Shell and Total. So we need to think about that. The second part is on coordination. You know, people of UNBS, petroleum, those sectors are one of the sectors that are almost 100% centralized. You don't have any focal person at the district. You come to the district to do your work, you don't even visit the cow, you don't visit the town clerk, you don't have any person on the ground you go with to the field. You do your work and finish. Then how can we do monitoring or inspections we ourselves? Like me, myself, an environmentalist, I move to these petrol stations, even some of those who come from Kenya, they know me. But what exactly do we do when we move? We don't have your numbers. You don't coordinate with us. You get it? You need to get somebody on ground, a focal person, maybe gazetted by the chief administrative officer or town clerks, a person who can help you. You do the work. Because these stickers you put on petrol stations these days are from NASA. People can make those ones and put them there. And we think those things are what? Are right. So we need to work on that because we are the people, we are your eyes. We can report to you that something is happening. And we are the people who approves the building plans. We are people who approves the environment impact assessments. We are the people who approves if the site is near the wetland or not. So we need to be with you. We need to work with you. But that system of centralization actually killed, and that's why we are having a lot of issues. We are having somebody was presenting about 39% standards, especially in Western Uganda. The standard is very poor. We are not complying because we don't get reports. We are having so many problems. For example, if I may ask, the petrol station that was put on a seal that it was not of a good standard. Who removes the seal? We have never seen any lorry coming to take that fuel. Isn't that a weakness? You are reporting yourself, we are having police, we are having chief administrative officers here, you are reporting your weakness to us who have been actually hiding, not knowing what is going on. We need to know who takes that fuel, if I'm to ask. Lastly, mushrooming outlets of petrol stations. You find one petrol station in a town is having 20 outlets there in the village. In town councils, these are upcoming rural growth centers, they are having so many. If there are 5 in town and each is having 5 in every town, in every trading center, how many are those? And funny enough, what is the transportation? We are talking about standard. What is the transportation? People are using tricycles, this is boda. To transport from town, they take it to the village. On a tricycle, on a jerrycans. How is that standard? So we need to work together. What I may request as an advice, though you have come to advise us, let us advise you. We need you to organize another meeting. Call some officers from the district, cows, town clerks, technical people like the physical planner, engineer, environment officer. Call us somewhere. We come up with a checklist. We need to have one checklist. Don't look for your own thing. So long as you see the liquid is there, that's okay. You put there a stick and the person moves. Let us approve the things at once as one. Then from there, we shall curb all those issues and standards you are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senior Environment Officer, Unyangavu, Local Government. I have carefully been listening, and I want to appreciate all the presenters. How I wish we could talk the talk. Mr. Commissioner, this is my simple observation. There is a complete disconnect from the standards by the Ministry of Energy and UNBS. Why am I saying so? Just close to Unyangavu here, local government. None of the stations will pass these standards you've been presenting to us. And that's very true. And yet, they are fully licensed and certified by UNBS, licensed by the Energy Ministry and certified by UNBS. And this puts the work of inspectors in a very, very difficult situation. This is my simple request as we implement what my brother Julius has suggested. I take this opportunity to invite the enforcement unit. I didn't know that we even have one. Come to Unyangavu and we rectify this mess. I beg to submit.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Biarohanga from Metiana. I want to say the diluted, adulterated fuel, we are still consuming it. Yes, in my last station, I was allocated a Mazda vehicle. And within 2 years, I changed the nozzles twice. And the Mazda nozzle, therefore, is 12 million. And the petrol station had your sticker. There are some things we need to do differently. The issue of the seal, a plastic seal cannot work. Can you get a padlock? And what the other colleague has said, you are just hanging in the air. When you put that seal, other than you, who is supposed to enforce it? Who knows that this fuel in this tank is bad? Even if the seal was there, do I know what is happening there? to the Ministry of Energy, to the Ministry, we recommended the creation of a post of an district energy officer who would take minerals and energy and other related issues. Now, UNBS, take an example of URBSB. They have worked on the law and we are working with them. There are some components of their work like civil marriage registration, solemnizing marriages, registration of small businesses. They have decentralized them. Don't consume too much which you cannot like. I had two gentlemen introducing themselves from weights and measures. I hope they are Ugandans. With meat, we gave up. When you buy meat, expect either to buy half kilogram or 3/4. And it is you. You come during Christmas, you tell us to mobilize, we mobilize for you, and we don't know what you do. My last comment is on the first two presentations which were made here. Emphasis was made on completion certificates and building permits. You forgot one checklist, which is the occupation permit. The petrol stations are now very big, by the way, very big. They have a big supermarket, they have a restaurant, they have a vehicle, and many other components within the petrol station. And there are very many structures there. The occupation permit has very many big components which you are missing. It has a fire certification, it has a mechanical certification, it has an electrical certification, which are not in the completion certificate. I would appeal that you look at that for now.
Thank you very much. I also want to appreciate all the presenters. My name is Edmond Maisa from Unbs Town Clerk. Now, of course, all the presentations have been okay, but I've picked about 2-3 issues. One is about compliance, and the other one is about regulation. From the time I started driving a car, I came to learn that prices for fuel are determined by the fuel sellers, not the government. Maybe not the Ministry of Energy, but not by the government. Because all of you people know how fuel prices have been rising. From 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, even sometimes it goes to towards 6,000. Now, what is the role of government when it comes to price regulation? The other issue also, I want to concur with my senior colleague here, who talked about the weighing skills. You people, you only come towards Christmas. Around there, I normally see your team coming to the districts around Christmas, and you just come once. So this is why I'm also supporting my colleague who is saying that please identify staff to assist you in the field, because your staff are not going to do what? To be everywhere. Otherwise, even your efforts are not felt. Like for instance, now we have come for this meeting. We don't know when again we are going to do what? To be invited for the same, so that we can do what? We can be on the same footing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm called Zah Francis for the chairman also Freddy Bundivuju.
My concern is just one. I'm seeing a lot of syndicate in terms of corruption from the top up to the bottom. Because when you see how all the offices are doing their things, you'll just see that there is a lot of syndicate. Most of the standards that we've been talking about here, they are not on the ground. Most of them, I'm not saying all. Because you can go to Bundubujo and look at some of the petrol stations, people's lives are at stake. If there is any fire outbreak, because this is fuel, much lives will be at stake, will be lost. When you visit the environment at the district, they will tell you that is the standard. Me as a politician, when I look at the standard, I know I am a politician, but I'm not a technician in that area, but I will still know that this is not supposed to be done like this. For you, when you come from Kampala or wherever you are coming from, to come and check the standard there, you take it as normal. This means there is a lot of corruption. I don't know whether you tell them to solicit money for you, or it starts from up coming down. What am I saying? I know this government of the NRM under the leadership of the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is wishing for everyone well, and it wants everyone to do business. But you help the government to do things that are standard. When I was growing, when I was still young, my father used to talk about Unbs. Those days, it was not something to joke about. He was a cocoa person, he was trading in cocoa. I could see him hiding his weighing scales because Unbs is coming anytime. But these days, they don't bother because they know Unbs is coming, maybe we shall talk to them and go away. I have a feeling that in this area of petrol stations and whatever you are doing, I think there is a lot of compromising. So I want to appeal to you to tighten your belts. I thank you so much.
First one to respond.
I think it's not. So I stand.
I want to comment on the prices of fuel. Are they determined by retailers? What is the role of government? Farm prices are determined by forces of demand and supply. They are determined by the market. And this is guided by the Petroleum Supply Act of 2003 and the attendant regulations, Petroleum Supply General Regulations of 2009. So, the prices at service stations now is a function of the market. But in case they become errant, the ministry has a price reference number which we determine every month depending on the landed price of petroleum products into Uganda. You all know that prices keep changing. Even from the markets where we buy petroleum products as a country, the prices change. There are two big contributions of prices. One is premium, another one is Platts. The rest are handling costs. So premiums change every month, and Platts also keeps moving. So once you see prices going down, it implies one of those two has gone low. But in as far as palm prices are concerned, it's a very competitive market, and the prices are determined by the market. But for example, now if a liter is at 6,000, and someone wakes up and puts at 12,000, one, you have the right not to go there, to go to a competitive one. But of course, once the price is displayed, government will base itself on the reference price to take action against that outlet. I think that's why we have very competitive prices in Uganda. We have also had to answer questions as to why prices of Uganda at the pump are even cheaper than Nairobi, where we buy from. The reason they are cheaper is that here we don't fix prices, they are determined by the market, which is a model that has been found working and is excellent. And who benefits in this? The user, the buyer. You may be surprised to find that sometimes all the marketing companies which are represented here, they sometimes make losses, but they must remain competing in the market. I hope this one clarifies the issue that was raised as far as prices are concerned. Thank you.
Julius mentioned about taking fuel for his car from particular stations. He mentioned Shell, Total. He has a there are new models coming on board. Now, Mr. Dean here will agree with me. In the preparation of the standards, there are many stakeholders involved. And when it comes even to before they are gazetted, there's public review comment session. And when they are put on our portals, even international, those who are making those cars refer and make comments to those standards. I remember one time I was in Nairobi for harmonization of one of the fuel standards. And we had manufacturers from Europe coming to participate because they know if we pass a standard which does not comply to the models of vehicles they are making, they will have no market in the region. So their input at that stage is taken into consideration. And I want to assure you that the products we are using here, even when we are before gazetting these standards, we refer to those international standards where these vehicles manufactured are coming from, so that even when those vehicles come in here, they can use the fuel we have. Now, two aspects. Some of these companies add improvers, additives for marketing strategy and also for helping the consumer for complete combustion of the product in the cylinders of the vehicle. That's those companies you are referring to, that they have this good fuel. But as far as fuel coming into the country, it meets the regional standard which you have set. It can be used in any vehicle. The challenge is when the product is adulterated and you're using a new model type of car, and that's why we are here to enforce so that the fuel is not adulterated. We have been fighting this vice of adulteration since 2009 with this program. But at that level, the non-compliance level was at 30%. 30% of all the tests in Uganda, we are selling product that doesn't meet standard. We have progressively improved to less than 1%. But it is so complex to wipe out the vice. The problem is our attitude, interest in making profits. If we don't own and take up the responsibility, for twagala okufuna esente, bwe twagala okufuna esente, ne tukola ebikyamu. The aspect is okukyusa mmoro y'abantu, okuleka okola obutuufu, obukyamu, okola ekituufu. Naye okukyusa mmoro y'abantu, it may not be technical. Okukyusa mmoro y'abantu, it may not be you local leaders. These policemen are here. People are stealing every day in Kokovich. It's so difficult to wipe out crime. People are tempted to sin every day, and they will continue. We have fought adulteration and we are continuing to fight, and we are here to fight. I want to assure you that it's the effect of adulterated product that affects even these new vehicles very much. Not that we have not set the standard, we have set the standard, we have done our role, we are doing our role, we are here preaching quality, we shall continue work, and what we need is work together. When you realize, you are saying we are here because sometimes no, we are here that we work together in implementing the enforcement of the standard so that we all benefit. But it's also your role. Let us change our mindset. You know, fighting corruption begins with the mindset. People will continue to be tempted, but unless people got conviction of their inner being, conviction of not falling into temptation to bad things, we cannot change the country. But it begins with us. Even if we put so many policemen on every station, people will be tempted on the way. That's why you see these traffic people. People drive carelessly. They die, but they continue driving carelessly. But I appeal to you, we are doing our best. The non-compliance level is at less than 1%. I cannot say it's out, it's completely out. It is still there, but we shall work together to eradicate that one. But those companies, they are put into measures also to monitor and control quality within the retail network. That's why we are here to appeal, even to others, to implement monitoring of quality within the retail network. It is a combined effort, oil industries together with us, so that we can overcome this problem. But it exists, it will continue to exist, we shall fight it, together we can.
Julius raised a number of issues. One of them, Peter answered them. Another one was on coordination on the central level and the district level. I think we take note of that, and we'll look into it as we look it to be a more coordinated way. We will contact the district, the CAU, and we see how we coordinate on that. The issue on standards, Peter has explained. We need to comply and to sensitize everybody to comply with the set standards so that we level the playing ground. And there was an issue of mushrooming of petrol stations. And this issue is always raised everywhere in every forum. But as Uganda, the model we are employing, the model we are using of liberalized sector. And John said, we have the best prices in the region. The reason is increased competition. Now, these stations are driven by the demand. Now, the individual man was saying that people fill the jerrycans and take it up country. In my view, if where they are taking it, if there could be an established petrol station, it would be a safe way of handling petroleum products. That means there is a need for petroleum products in those areas. So, Chairman, get an investor, encourage him to put a petrol station in those areas where people are taking fuel in jerrycans. The issue is safety and standards. The industrial practice of establishing petrol stations is that petroleum products are kept underground. So the safety issue for the petrol station to get fire, it is unlikely. The only issue is the standard. Does the petrol station meet a standard to be established? But as long as there are many, it is better for the consumers. This one will sell at this price, the other one will try to outcompete him. At the end of the day, the beneficiary is who? The motorist. That's why we have the lowest price in the region, because our policy is open, fair, and open competition. So we don't need to fear that petrol stations are coming on board every day, every day. It is for the benefit of the public. If you sell your product expensively here, you'll go to the next station. As long as the product is okay, it is meeting the standard, and the station is of the standard. I thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pero Biokunda, Head of Quality Assurance in the Ministry of Energy. Actually, downstream quality assurance. I wanted to add on the issue my colleague Peter Kitimbo highlighted, responding to, I think, the first speaker in this question and answer session. The issue, we keep getting that question in every sensitization and awareness workshop we go to. Share Total. In actual fact, for your information, other companies have gone ahead also to adopt what we call additives, because they always hear people running to Total and Share. Even now, recently, I think Rubis, that is a former hobby, has also now put Ultratech into their fuel. And I think Oryx is also in the process of doing it. Why do people rush for Share and Total? And yet Peter has told you, right from importation, all fuel coming into the region is the same. We assess it on issues of all quality parameters you know of. Quality parameters according to East African harmonized standards. Fuel quality is the same until it is adulterated internally, because we check before CKIPA adds the chemical to do the marking at the border, which we monitor in stations. We have staff at the border to also do preliminary quality checks to ensure that this fuel meets the acceptable standard. It's a range of parameters, and we even have a central lab that also continues also to do testing. But what Shell and Total have been having an edge over others is adding additives. And these additives, we usually say, they are materials, and they are accepted in the standard. They are materials that are added in the fuel to suppress undesirable characteristics and enhance desirable characteristics. There are a range of additives, because Shell has V-Power, has Formula Shell, Dynaflex technology. Total has Exerium. Now we have had Rubis having Ultratech. Now, what they do, some do octane enhancing, combustion improvers, some are antioxidants, some are detergents, Cleaning fuel, that is detergency. Some improve cold flow properties. You know, fuel in cold temperatures, in issues of flow, to have easy drivability and starting, must have certain characteristics to improve formation of vapors. And when the vapors are too many, it must prevent the vapors be many to request vapor rock in the engine lines. So we do all this, and if this program wasn't around to do this, most of your vehicles, because you wouldn't be able to drive. This program has done a lot from 2008-9 to date, from 30% to now less than 1. Reason being, the current vehicles, I know most of you, especially government vehicles, they are using Euro 5 and Euro 6 standards. These are extremely sensitive compared to the cars of the 1970s, the carburetor system. We no longer have carburetor system in fuel injection. We have now electronic fuel injection. We have direct injection. We have turbocharged. Now we even have VVTI, the current ones. That is variable valve timing with intelligence. So they are such a sensitive innovate. They know how the volume carbureting system, the amount of fuel you need to take into the combustion chamber is highly regulated, putting into consideration the combustion and considering that all these vehicles you have now catalytic converters. This is an international standard. There is no vehicle of 2000 to date that doesn't have a catalytic converter, because they are looking at even emission control technologies that have platinum catalysts to control the amount of emissions and bad hydrocarbons. So embrace this fuel marking all the time, give it to the corporation it needs, it will give you value for money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me add my voice briefly to what my colleagues have said. Reverend Frank Tukwasive, the Commissioner for Petroleum Supply Department. I'm trying to look for the network. I don't know why there is feedback. Just a few areas. My colleagues have talked about or response on the first person, the Honorable Julius from Chenjojo. Just a quick one with regard to the new cars and preference to some oil companies, and an assumption that most of us, if not all, have actually used those stations. One, they have already explained the cost of fuel, how it is. But let me give you my experience. This morning, I fueled from Fuelex Gaise. This morning, Fuelex Gaise. I wish I had requested for a receipt. I would have given evidence to that effect. But I fueled from Fuelex Gaise this morning. The vehicle that is currently attached to my office, I think qualifies to be one of those new ones. Sparrow might give it which euro it is. But it's a Toyota Prado, 70th anniversary, so we may give it where it belongs. But I have reached here without any problem. And therefore, and for me, I move to any station. If there were to be any problem, then as a regulator, I will know how better to handle. But that aside, in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, I had an experience of a human error on one of Shell stations where I had gone to fuel. and the tenant accidentally put in petrol when I had ordered for diesel. So error is to human, and I had to be patient to have the fuel drained and reintroduced the actual one, and I was able to move. So error is to human. The good thing is that we should be able to learn from error. If we cannot learn from error, then history continues to repeat itself. On coordination, I think my brother Stephen has talked about it, and the issue of focal person, which also this member Jaruhanga from Mitiano, I talked about the creation of district energy officers. That is something that needs to be looked into vis-a-vis the restructuring, vis-a-vis the capacity building for local governments, to take services closer to the citizens. All those things need to be looked into. So it's not, yes, it is a recommendation, but it's not something that can be done within one sitting. It certainly requires a series of meetings, and certainly it impacts on the overall government budget for payroll, and also on employment opportunities. Mushrooming stations, they have talked about it, but the good thing, the member who raised it was categorical that they are the people who approve building plans, EIAs, and the like. So I hope my brother kindly ensure that those mushrooming stations have you have done the necessary approvals, other than so that we do not have to shift the blame game. Center, local government. At the end of the day, it's the general citizens that are suffering. So if you do your role very well, we also do our role in a coordinated manner as advised. I'm sure we should be able to deliver better services to citizens. And your advice of advising another meeting with the key stakeholders, even to develop a clear checklist, is highly welcome. And I hope that the local governments could organize themselves and call us, because our sensitization budget is very limited. But if you organize yourself, let's say the people from where? Chenjojo and the like very near, you call us in a hall in that meeting, we'll be able to come and deliberate and think through, so that we're able to do what? To reach a better position. My brother from Bunyangabo, I hear you loud and clear, calling for people to walk the talk, and with regard to perceived disconnect between the ministry and with regard to some of the stations, or if not many, that in your view are licensed but not meeting standards, and you've called upon the enforcement team to come to your area and work together to rectify the miss. The call is very clear, the perception is also noted, and I do hope that my members, as soon as possible, let me not be that political, but as soon as possible, you know, for example, this quarter, we did not have release to do some of these things. So as soon as we are enabled, we should be able to partner with you to see that indeed that miss is rectified. My brother Jaruhanga from Mitiana, I think is a similar issue. Unfortunately, his Mazida has had issues, but once bitten, twice shy. So probably, if I am assuming maybe they were different stations, but if it is the same station, unless you are a shareholder, you shouldn't be going back to it if you have had a problem. That's my rational thinking, right? But it's very unfortunate, and that's why indeed members are saying we must continue to ensure that such a programs like a fuel marking program are there to be able to protect some of the citizens that may not even be suspecting what is happening. There was an issue of actually the same member was asking, you know, these plastic seals, why can't we use padlocks and whatnot? Anyway, but my brother Peter has talked about the need for people to repent of their sins to the issue of morality, because you can take cows to the water, but is yet another thing that actually they should be able to do what? To drink that water. So while we are doing our part in the technology available, it's important that the people can take the message and do self-regulation. This aspect of regulation by having taxpayers, because you know, by our coming this way, and you now leaving offices and whatnot, such a workshop like this, it is taxpayers' money that we are spending. But which taxpayers' money, if people were good at self-regulation, could have perhaps helped in clearing a certain section of a road so that it becomes very clear. But because of many not embracing the aspect of self-regulation, you find that some of the intended benefits to the local governments, services to closer to the people, you have equipment, but you don't have fuel to do what you should be doing. Yes, yet if some of this money was available for such, it would do better. So the concern is noted, but I hope you also note the magnitude of the matter, that these are issues of the heart. And for fuel, somebody told me that we are dealing with cowboys, that they are not gentlemen. I haven't done research to either affirm or dispute that statement, but your perception or your guess is as good as mine. Finally, I think the issue of occupation permit, occupation permit that is being forgotten. I think that was an oversight from my brother Dyson, so if he presented the issue, but right now, at construction permit application, we require to have a copy of the building permit, right? So it's not just a building an approved building plan, but a building permit. When it is done, you have your permit, construction permit as per the Petroleum Supply Act, and you are done with the fuel station of whichever facility. Our part is for completion certificate. Its scope is with regard to fuel matters. So attendant aspects of a supermarket, of a restaurant, those are not within our area of jurisdiction. So the completion certificate only narrows to the aspects of fuel. Occupation permit comes in to say that now the entire complex and whatnot is ready to go. So at application for an operating license, again the addition is other than only completion certificate, which is verifiable, we also now require that you have gotten an occupation permit. So it is becoming a little bit tedious for those who are intending to enter the market. But if I have picked the lesson very correctly, one of us is putting on a t-shirt that good things take time. So I really think that those who are like intending, for example, to join the industry, and if the issues are becoming a little bit more complicated, they should appreciate that good things do take time. Thank you.
question?
Thank you. I'm called Elvis, a physical planner by profession. One, I want to appreciate you people for this workshop. I have a few comments. One is on the building permit. I don't know whether I got it very well. Issued by a registered engineer. Now, I don't know whether I got it very well on the presentation, but as you know, in most of these local governments, 80 or 70% don't have registered engineers. So, if you want to get that, I don't know whether you are going to get the permits that you need. Then two is on the issue of the starters. My brother from Bundibujo talked about the NRM government wishing everyone to be okay. I agree with him. But if someone is already in business, someone has his money, someone has his little money to begin, how do you come in as minister to help this person? Because it's not just a matter of singing everyone, criminalize those people, grows what? Why? There should be an element of helping this person to grow. Those people who are agitating for taking them to prison, criminalizing them, some of them are just haters of development. Lastly, is on the issue of the estimation costs. There was someone who presented about costs and said sometimes they underestimate the costs. Or even during construction, you look at a petrol station and say this one is worth 600 million. It depends on where I will buy the what? The materials. I may be having 500 million and I put up a station to standard, and someone uses 800 million and is also to standard. So I don't think the amount of money should be set. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Eunice Kanyigini is my name, the Environment Officer Kabarole, sitting in for the City Environment Officer. One, my request is that next time when we talk about involving stakeholders, please involve Kabarole District Local Government. It was not invited and I've been in the system, but we've not really participated in one of these stakeholder engagements. Then two is I needed clarification on the petrol stations, how we can classify these petrol stations, because according to the photos I was seeing on the presentation, I was seeing these big petrol stations, but I'm seeing these other, I don't know how I can call them, are they filling stations or one pump station? I don't know. And what are the requirements for such kind of facilities, because those are the kinds we have in most of our lower local governments. Thank you.
John Hanga Salajio from Chenjojo. For me, I thank this assembly for the standards. Standards before starting and doing the business. But now my question is, when you want to leave business? You want to leave business because you have run short of money. Now, writing to Kampala, to the commission, that I want to leave business. Your letter is not replied in time. Kumbe for you want to change it to a different business. And when you run short of money, Kampala becomes is a longer distance. But when you have money, it is short. You can go, you drive, you come back. But when you don't have money, you have to go and sleep there. You follow that letter. Then if you are cleared, maybe in 1 month or 2 months, then I think it is a problem. Do you consider that really somebody who is going to leave fuel business, writing to the commission and waiting maybe for, I don't know how far is it, maybe it can be very simple, it can be a short time, but if it is a long time, then that's a problem. Secondly, that the place you want to do other business, which you are put a fuel station or business, you should first make it as clear as you began the work. But making it clear as you began the work is not also simple. First of all, you had the money when you were going to gain the business. Now you don't have money. Now, doing all those, maybe you can remove the tax, but other things, maybe you can leave them and you turn it to a different business. Could you advise us on that? When you want to leave business, when you have failed really to cope up with the standards. Thank you.
There was one here, then I come.
My name is Tugume Sahid. I'm from Chenjojo. Many people have talked, but their sense is especially on the big petrol stations. But you find someone in the village, deep in the village, you may find from Chenjojo town to the village someone who has a petrol station. You have there 8 kilometers. This person may not or may have a challenge of meeting all the needs to have a good petrol station and has only one pump. This person, they combined money with the brothers, they solicited 20 million and they wanted to start up a small petrol station. But when the UNBS and the energy officers come, they may request requirements of the same petrol station in Kampala. Then you find that as if all people in the villages are being stopped from working. And yet the government of Uganda today is leveling that everyone must have something to do rather than stealing.
Thank you. I'm Senior Superintendent of Police, Runjo John Bosco. I police from the district of Unbs. Much has been discussed, and I had also something which was related to my institution which I serve. And I'm also a consumer of fuel, especially diesel. Many discussants have also talked about the issues of bad fuel, and it is true, it is being mixed up. We always get complainants at the stations, and we fail even to state out which offense. Because now this one, we must prove beyond reasonable doubt that that fuel has been adulterated. Therefore, can these services be rendered nearby that in case we have somebody who has reported such a kind of matter, we can react there and then to have that person arrested? Secondly, the first presenter talked about, I think was the second presenter talked about distancing the petrol stations. You know, Uganda, we have very good laws, but implementation is zero. I have to admit that one. You go to a district, a very live example is here at a roundabout. There are 2 petrol stations, just meters, not a kilometer. So, and you are the very people who allow these people to construct those petrol stations under your regulations. Therefore, how shall we also come up as police to prevent these ones from constructing when they have been legalized and they have paid all the documents that are required? Lastly, I come from Mukono district. There is a place called Namatava. They sell fuel in jail ever since I think I came to existence in this world. They said, and there is no even, we tried to operate when I was a DPC in Nagalama. We tried to round them up, but there was a serious backup on us, whether we are from UNBS or not. Therefore, take a note of, because they offload those trailers, they sell in jail cans, and that is where they mix it up. Therefore, the much concentration should be put in that place, Namatava and in jail. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All protocol observed. Senior Superintendent of Police, Tunemusha Stephen, DPC Bunyangabo. I want to thank the organizers of this event, and I would like to thank the presenters. The presentations were very elaborate, and most of my questions were put across, were answered. However, I have two or three concerns. When I looked at all these presentations, number one, they focused on the standards, which we all agree and have seen. They looked at how to compliance and non-compliance, and also the implementation of those standards. Now, my question is, what next? The biggest question here is, who are we not all supposed to be to implement? I want to throw it to each member who is here. I know we have the focal people to do the implementation. But all of us have a role to put this into action. Because everything, I want to thank all the members who have contributed. Indeed, what they have said, it is true. Now the question is, how do we deal with this? And that is where the implementation comes in. Can you and I, can we do something? Let us not push the blame to anyone, but can we do something? I was very happy when you depicted the contacts of you people, and I want to speak outside this uniform, assuming I'm a layman, and I give a call to one of the contacts that you put across. I want us, or these people here, we need to know how in position are you able to address that concern of a whistleblower who has come out straight and given information or maybe complained about what we've been discussing about, especially people who are defaulting on compliance. Lastly, I want to call upon the organizers to, like you have promised, please fulfill the promise. Let's have more sensitization. I was really perplexed when I saw that this region, we are really at 36 non-compliance, meaning that we have work to do. Therefore, can we get to work? Thank you.
My name is William Kasango, and I head the Department of Natural Resources, Kamwenge District Local Government, and I'm very quick. The first one is there is a policy for government of Uganda to promote use of LPG as a way of attaining clean cooking and also reducing on consumption of biomass. So the question is, how is the reliability and sustainability of telling the people in the rural settings to use LPG? Number two, for purposes of clarity, would you tell us the difference between a service station and a filling station? The presenter was using those two words. Are they brothers and sisters? Are they the same? Can we use them interchangeably? The last one. Yes, the very last one is that in the approval workflow, local governments are partners in the workflow. But quite often, the operators or the developers are stubborn, and they say, for you are local. So for us, we deal with big people from there. No, so innocently they forget that it is the same public service of Uganda. So probably I would suggest that we need to strengthen that intercollaboration such that these guys don't feel that our local have a little role to play. Thank you very much.
I want to comment on the promotion of usage of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, for cooking at household level. The consumption of LPG in Uganda is very low. And when we did the survey with the Uganda Bureau of Standards in 2020, we found that it had indeed grown from the 1% that had been reported in 2014 to 4% at household level. The rest of us are using biomass, firewood and related wood matter, plant matter for cooking. Against that background, the government is promoting usage of LPG. And basing on the research that we carried out, we found that there are some hindrances that really curtail the usage of LPG at household level in this country. One of them is the fear that if you use it, perhaps it might burn members in the family. So we have the onus to sensitize Ugandans on the safety of LPG. It is very safe to use, and we all know that once it is misused, it is not handled well, it can misbehave. So we have the onus to sensitize Ugandans on the usage of LPG for purposes of demystifying that fear. But a few that have tested it cannot live. And also want to prepare the mindset of Ugandans that it is not expensive compared to charcoal in urban areas. We have carried out that research and found that in a month, a household of 4-5 people can utilize a 13 kilogram cylinder for a whole month. But how many basins of charcoal do you use to cook the equivalent meals with the problems that we know come from charcoal? The smoke, the dirt, the delays, inhaling of funny gases. So we found that it is cheaper than charcoal. In the rural setup, we know firewood is still easily available. So we cannot compare firewood with LPG perhaps in this area. But we compare it with charcoal that many of us use in urban areas. Another obstacle for usage at household level was the entry cost. For you to start using gas, you require to pay upfront some money for the cylinder, the hose, the cook stove, the regulator, if in case you are buying a bigger cylinder. But if you are buying a smaller one, still required to pay for the cylinder, the grill and the burner. All that one requires some upfront money, which is a hindrance for the starters of usage of LPG at household. And the rest were not for homes. The rest is that the distribution of LPG right now is still in Kampala. Actually, it is now getting closer to us, but the center if you look at the bigger consumption, is areas around Kampala. For now, you can be able to see it at service stations everywhere, but if you remember where we came from, it was not easily seen. So, we are looking at improving storage at the regional level for purposes of improving supply. And as far as the startup cost is concerned, the government has introduced a program of a development plan of 5 years, where we shall be distributing cylinder kits. We give you a 13 kilogram cylinder and accessories, then you pay for the gas, which is about 100,000. We started it in 2021. We have had labs this year, and the next financial year, our plan is to cover all of the cities of Uganda, where Fortportal will equally benefit. We give you the kit, and then you pay for the refilling of the gas. We have started it, and it has been received very well. The response is far higher than we can even handle. And the plan is to introduce 200,000 cylinder kits into the market every year for 5 years. So, and the supply of LPG used to be a problem some years back, but for now, you not go to any outlet and you find that LPG is not there. So what are we focusing on? Sensitization and introduction of those subsidized kits for improvement of LPG usage at household level in Uganda. I thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with the physical professional planner who said that the building permits that are required from the registered engineer, that the registered engineers may not be available on the district level. You are not restricted to the district level. You can seek services of the registered engineer from anywhere. Of course, at a cost. But you must look at the market where who is registered and who is available and who can afford. So the requirement, we cannot relax it because that there are no registered engineer in a new created district. That one, the answer is you can seek the services of a registered engineer from anywhere, as most developers seek the services of professional environmentalist practitioners anywhere, as long as he is a practitioner. Starters, how can we help the starters to grow? Here I don't have a definite answer, because if you are coming to business, you must mobilize resources. You must mobilize resources, and I think I will answer it with somebody from Changejo of a small business and single pumps. The first presenter showed you the minimum that you can operate the hydrocarbons. Because you know the business you are in is not a small business, and it is not a simple business. So the first presenter presented the minimum and the maximum. The minimum is where you start from, the minimum, which is a minimum of a plot of 100 by 100. And the reason for 100 by 100 is that why that standard was put there is that a trailer can turn into a station and fuel. So the standard was put in place mainly for you to serve all kinds of vehicles, not restricted to either border or small vehicles. So the minimum can be 100 by 100, and you start your small business, and you don't put in all these the beautiful facilities you see in other stations. You will be allowed to operate. The estimated cost. Honestly, there are minimum cost for you to set up a petrol station. There are minimum cost, and you can start with that. Then you can add all other facilities as I have said. So the minimum cost is known, and if you underestimate, the presenter told you, if you underestimate, we employ the valuers. We employ the government valuer to give us a reasonable estimate. It is the same clarification from Kavarore, the difference between a service station and a filling station. A filling station is a station with minimum requirements that can deal in petroleum products. A service station is a station that have other facilities, other services that excludes only filling the petroleum products. That is the clarification, and that is the difference. The commissioning, the law is very clear. If you are to leave that business, you must inform the commissioner to give you the guidelines on how to remove the installed facilities in a safe manner. The time frame that may take, the law is also very clear. The commissioner should not withhold the application of any applicant for a reasonable time. It can take long, but there is a minimum reasonable time that the commissioner must respond to the applicant. The distance between stations. I think 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we attempted to put a distance from one station to another. But stakeholders, as Dean said, stakeholders, they must review the standards periodically. Now, when they were reviewing this standard, it was prudent to say that the distance requirement should be removed. Why? Because it is better to have a station near a station rather than having a station near a hotel or near a school. That's why we, as the stakeholders, agreed to remove the distance requirement. And it is actually 2 ways. One, it is better when the 2 stations are together rather than a different facility, because you don't know the purpose of the owner of the next station. Secondly, it is economically important for competition. If you move around, you see a place where there are traditional oil marketing companies, especially in Kampala, where it is very difficult to acquire product. You find Shell is charging much higher price where it is only located in that particular area than when it is allocated near to other stations. So it is in 2 ways. So the safety part of it, as I have explained it before, that the industrial practice, petroleum products are underground. So they cannot easily, we can take years without hearing any petrol station getting fire because of the industrial practice. And the benefits really, as John presented it to you, we can see it. We have the best price in the region. Njeru and Namataba. I think we take a lot of it, and they are actually illegal. I find that you should help us and arrest those people. You should coordinate with your colleagues and arrest those people because, one, it is safety. They are stealing fuel from the trucks going somewhere. And it is outside our mandate, although we try as much as possible, because it is outside the petroleum facility. How do I run after them? It is actually really the police to run after these people. Response, if any call is made, how long does it take us to respond? Peter will answer that. You are the field supervisor. Thank you. No, before that, awareness. We are going to try as much as possible to make sure that we are present and we interact with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. We can speak. Thank you so much. Lastly, in terms of response to whistleblowers who, in case of any issue to do with equality, we have given you our toll-free numbers, and my number was among those which I gave. How long? Because I'm in charge of the field, and I know where exactly each mobile field lab is in the region. Once you get in touch with me, I'll be able to respond not only to the whistleblower, but in case you take fuel and you find your vehicle has a challenge, in case you, anything related to quality, anything, and you call, within that day I'll be able to respond. And depending on where the vehicle, the mobile lab is, it may take 1 or 2 days, but in most cases I'll be able to respond within 24 hours to that complaint when it is in your jurisdiction. Because I know where each of these vehicles is. It may be related to quantity, then I'll pass it on. If it comes to UNBS, the UNBS normally passes it on to us in terms of quality when you call those toll-free numbers. Now, finally, somebody asked, there are those stations without names. It is illegal to operate stations without names, and there are many of that kind of thing. One day it is this one without certain names. And not showing the prices on the billboard. It's not also not, it's illegal. Prices to be displayed on the billboard so that the consumer know how much. And there should be the same price on the pump, not a variant. Thank you much for your attention at this moment. Let me invite the Commissioner to close up this function. Thank you, Mr. John Friday.
sorry, I seem to be standing between your lunch, but I hope I will be very quick. One is on this aspect of how do we come in as a ministry to help. My colleague has talked about it, but I just want to add one angle to it. That in terms of economics, when you are taking over an asset, you take both assets and liabilities. So it's very important that people take note of that, whether it is existing, whether you're already there. Please bear, as you are enjoying the assets, also bear the liabilities that are attendant to them. So it is not that the people who are saying you will be closed or what are the haters of development, but they are simply messengers, forewarners or foretellers to tell you that please put your house in order in time. My sister Eunice Kabarole, our apologies or oversight for not inviting that district, and I think it is noted. Please ensure that in the region that subsequently is always included. The other aspect I think I needed to talk about bad fuel, SSP and Bundibuju. Which offense or can we have services nearer? The offense, as they went through the fuel marking regulations or requirement, and I think that was Peter's presentation, together with that of Edward on different penalties that are available. So you can have the Petroleum Supply Act and the fuel marking regulations to hold somebody culpable for selling bad fuel. Of course, you know very well under the Evidence Act how you have to go about gathering evidence since the offense is criminal, because you have to prove reasonable doubt. And that's why there are those services of lab to ensure that the tests done are not disputable. Similarly, the aspect of distancing, we have laws, but implementation, we all have indeed a role to play in that, and I think it answers with the other member from SSP, with DPC Bunyangabo. Are we not all supposed to do something towards implementation? Yes, indeed, we are all supposed. And you know, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, as amended, requires each one of us to be responsible citizens, to defend our Constitution, to be able to do the right things. And I think that is partly where community policing comes in. That if you see somebody, for example, committing a crime or is suspected to be about to, then even in such instances you can arrest without an arrest warrant. So it is very important that we look through the different aspects, but each one of us has a stake, because it is our lives that are in danger if we allow things to continue working without, as if there is no regulation. Second but last, difference between a service station. Stephen talked about them, but only just an example. The extended services for a service station, things like tire, attending to tire, things like indeed servicing the car, other than just dispensing fuel. Then that becomes a what? A service station, to be able to understand it or to put into proper perspective. Lastly, adding to my brother on the approval workflow, the issues of coordination between center and local government. Permit me to use this in my language, that omushinja abgetera. I don't know how it can be loosely translated, but my brother William, please do not be who appear to be quote unquote intimidated by people who come to you that they have dealt with the center, and therefore you are local. Kindly assert yourself and be able to do your role very well without fear or favor. Thank you. I had requested my brother there to do the needful ceremony. I hope I will easily be seen when I'm here. Because the height of the table and the person are almost the same. The stakeholders that we invited for this half-day workshop, we want to appreciate that you have honored the invitation and have come in big numbers. We have stakeholders all the way from Mitiana, Kasanda, up to Bondibujo. I want to thank you for responding to the invitation, and I want to thank you for participating actively. I also want to thank the various presenters that started the exercise at 9. I want to thank you for all the effort. I want to thank the general organizers of this workshop, together with the venue owners. This exercise started on Monday in Mitiana when we were doing activation at selected outlets for purposes of increasing awareness as far as compliance is concerned, together with standards. Issues of disagreements on quantities, issues of queries on quality, issues of compliance to standards of outlets and so on. We have been sensitizing the stakeholders for all that region. And I also want to appreciate the progress that has been made. This is not the first time that we have come here. We have been very regular. And when you look at the compliance, say 5-10 years back, and today, there's a big difference. Although we are still doing badly compared to the rest of the regions in Uganda. It remains on your side to improve at least the level of northern Uganda, which is at 4%, compared to us here. I also come from here at 34%. We have something to do to match the best performing regions in the country. The industry is growing. People are providing employment. Let us protect it by complying to the standards, by complying to the quality requirements, by putting up outlets that match what is required by government. Because we have had some feedback that we should be able to close outlets in Bunyangabo. If you want us to start tonight, we have the capacity to do so. But we came to sensitize you. The time to enforce, to bring the stick, is also coming soon, before Easter. So with those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, we have been here for a very long time. I thank you once again. And at this time, I declare this half-day workshop closed.
Okay, let's pray for let him pray for the food. You're all welcome for lunch, and we can continue to interact during lunchtime. And we have given you our contacts. You can even contact us when we have left this place.
It's very challenging to pray during Lent, but okay. Father, we give you thanks and praise for this afternoon and for what you have enabled us to go through. We bless your holy name, even for the food that is available and for those that have prepared it. Bless it and sanctify it as we partake of it, and continue to enrich our engagements. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
If the government of Uganda cares about your health and the health of your fuel business or the health of your automobiles, wonder no more. The FMP program is testament to this fact. The government of Uganda, through the Fuel Marking and Quality Monitoring Program, is controlling and monitoring the quality of petroleum products in the entire supply chain in Uganda. The FMP program, which is guided by the Fuel Marking Regulations 2009, is implemented under a cooperative arrangement between the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development and the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, in collaboration with oil marketing companies, to offer you consumer quality assurance and protection, to monitor the quality of imported products, and to provide linkages with other downstream petroleum activities like development petroleum standards, and to provide linkages with other downstream petroleum activities like calibration and bulk measures, among others.
When these trucks bring in fuel, we do random sampling. Under circumstances where we find a product is not meeting the required standards, we always seize we are advised to seize the trucks, because when a product is substandard, it must be brought to standard.
Once the fuel truck enters the yard, it has to make sure that it's in the dipping slab. A dipping slab is a leveled place where we can dip the fuel clearly. And they bring the papers to our offices, to our site supervisor.
I received this paper from the supervisor, who allocates by writing my name, the truck which is on the slab. Then after receiving, I got the slab. I confirm if the paper is for the right truck which is there.
From there, the supervisors make sure that the physical papers handed over to him matches the truck that is in the dipping slab. After that, once everything is okay, he signs the truck to the next available marking technician, who then goes on top of the truck to check for fuel dips, densities, temperatures, for us to be able to ascertain exactly the amount of fuel that is in each compartment and the exact fuel type that the driver is coming, vis-a-vis what the papers declare. Then he hands over this document together with all other documents, which are the calibration chart, the bill of lading, and the exit note, to the customer service dispatcher. This is the point whereby the customer service dispatcher enters this information into the Asikuda system.
Today we are looking at how we monitor the quality of fuel at various stations. We have a mobile unit, a mobile laboratory, where we prepare these samples and put in the machine to run. We picked a sample of diesel from a pump that was serving. We prepared the sample in the sample cell. We put it in the sample chamber of the machine and commanded the machine to start testing. The testing takes 3 minutes. So after 3 minutes, it gave us the result, and the result was pass. We picked a sample of diesel and mixed it with 50% paraffin, and the result failed by 46%. This process of monitoring begins from the